And welcome everyone. We have a really great class, and we have quite a lot of students here, 35 students, Shoshana. Really wonderful group. So everybody should be able to see my slides. Now, if you see my slides, raise your hand. Find in Zoom where you can raise your hand and raise your hand. There you go. Okay, great. I see a lot of hands. Okay, so I know that you're there. You're giving me a sign that you're there, alive, listening, and you're discovering ways around Zoom. This is a great platform. We've been using it intensely for 1.5 years. Now, not so much because we're going back into the classroom for most cases. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So let me get started. My intent here is to give you an introduction to data analytics, data visualization, using Excel, which is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Every machine has it. And R, which is what we expect students to have a minimum competency in as an analytics program. Yes, as you heard from Professor Sultan, some professors do use Python, but by and large, R is our tool of choice. But you'll see that it doesn't take much to get up to speed on R. And then there are interfaces to R that make analysis, which is what we're focusing on, because we're about bringing answers to business so that they can run businesses better, not necessarily to turn you into computer programmers. Quite a few of you have a computer science background. Right, great. And you're aspiring perhaps to be data scientists. In this program, not so much. You will have an opportunity to experience and practice all that, but we will stop short of data science. We'll get up to data analytics. And that's still pretty data mining. I run a course on text data mining in the spring, this fall, for example. But we stop short of doing full-blown computer science, data science, as you will see. So let me give you first an introduction to the program, and let's get started. Data analysis is front and center of all businesses. So you, coming out of this program, as you probably surmised, are going to have great jobs. Great jobs because you're going to be in high demand. Here is Dr. Wendy Moe, Dean and Professor of Marketing at the University of Maryland, very famous school. She says, in this today, you got to be comfortable with data, because if you know how to manipulate, understand how it's collected, analyzed, and interpreted for strategic purposes for a company, if you can bring good answers, the executives who rely on you are going to love you. They're going to keep employing you. They're going to keep giving you raises and promoting you, because the future of decision making is no longer executives with a lot of experience, but executives rely on analysts who give them data. Data-driven decision making is the key of the future. Right? So today we're going to cover in 7 modules the basics. On Thursday we'll get a little bit more detail, so we'll only get to cover 5 modules, but they're much more detailed and more intense. So the 7 modules get very quickly through the basics, and then coming back on Thursday we'll get into some detailed tools. Let me introduce what we're about here. How this fits in with your journey as a student coming up, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I haven't introduced myself yet. A little bit about the program that you're going into, and then how does this area of business analysis, which is front and center to business, as you will see, fits with your journey, okay? And then a little bit on what I'm going to cover in the next 3 hours, So who am I? Andres Fortino. I am a clinical associate professor, a full-time faculty member. You'll meet many faculty in our program. Most of them are adjuncts because they have full-time jobs in industry. They get to practice what they come into the classroom to teach you, which is fantastic. You don't have that you have that in very few schools, where the practitioners are telling you, what is cutting edge in what they're doing every day at work. Now, I've had that career. I've been a dean. I've been a college provost. I've worked as a CIO. I've worked as a CFO. So I've got a lot of experience, but and I've done a lot of analysis. I have an electrical engineering degree, early on, very long time ago. And I had opportunity to do a lot of analysis. So my life is essentially a problem to be solved. So I have been able to develop a lot of expertise in business analysis. I published a ton of books. I'm working currently on a book on data mining, and one of a series of 4 books, and two of which you will use the chapters from those books that I wrote, and I made those available to you in the course website for you to use for your private purpose to enhance your knowledge of this material. Okay, so again, I'm one of the faculty in the program. So what is this Masters in Management System? It's about taking technology and applying it to improve a business. Right? We have 4 concentrations: database, risk analysis, risk management, systems development, and leadership. Many of our students focus on the database and quite a few on risk management, because those where a lot of great jobs coming out of your degree are. Right? So your data analytics prowess that you develop through the program will be put to work in getting a job as a data analyst, essentially, or as a risk analyst, a risk manager. Right? This program is geared to give you the skills in both analysis, but also in application to business, which makes you a very powerful player. Okay, so it's all about taking technology and applying it to business. And the case of database is, yes, building databases, very powerful, important technique. Database administrator, for example, but mostly it's about data analysis or data analytics, predictive models, modeling, machine learning, and just brushing on the edge of artificial intelligence. Not fully on, but building systems that businesses need to make business decision making. So it makes you very competitive in the marketplace because these are the skills in high demand today. So the skills that I'm going to talk about that you should have, whether you have them with you already or you bring them or you'll develop them through the courses, and even before you get into the courses, you'll need to have a certain basic knowledge. This is where they apply. In the first semester, you'll be taking a course on economics, managing a global economy, and analytics is important, but not as important as the course on information technology and data analytics. The word data analytics clue you the fact that those 3 dots mean they're very intense on model building and on analytics, on analysis, right? So very Excel and then brushing up against R. Wherever possible, you should be graduating from Excel into using R as a way of doing analysis. Quantitative models is absolutely intense on modeling, and some professors teach it with Python, but most professors teach it with R as well. So you can do your homework assignments in either program. That course is very intensive on that. Strategic marketing, you'll need to basically defend yourself in Excel pretty much. Financial management starts brushing up against some of the Python tools. Professors love to work with that, but also R, definitely Excel. Project management doesn't need the skills that much. And then you start taking, in the second semester, some concentration courses, like you might take my business analytics class, for example. Very intense on machine learning and doing data analysis in a very intense way. You might have a second concentration course, perhaps doesn't have as much use of these tools, like database management, for example. You would need SQL, but to build databases, to build very sophisticated multi-table databases. In the third semester, you'll take research process methodology, and there you'll use these tools, but only in deciding which analytic technique you will use when you'll make a research proposal. When you finally have data, you say, well, I'll use this statistical technique to analyze the data to get a result without necessarily using it. So you'll have to know what they are, because you'll be proposing without necessarily using them. Again, the faculty will cover these with you, okay? Again, you take 2 more concentration courses in the third semester as you wind up the program, because by the fourth semester, if you're going full time, you should be getting ready to graduate. These are 2 there's a 2-year program, 4 semesters. These concentration courses, some big data, for example, analytics, data mining and data warehousing, all of these courses require some intense analytic work. You may need analytic work in some of these programs for your internship. If you choose to do an internship, you don't have to. Then the capstone, definitely, my capstones all require the building of really sophisticated programs in R. Yutang just finished, for example, Yutang Wang, my colleague, who's now a colleague because she's graduated, former student, now a colleague because she's an alumni. She just finished this summer. Andy Sheng, for example, and as well as Yu Chao, who just also finished writing very intense programs in R as part of their capstones. The thesis might require you, especially do analysis of data, and of course the applied project is.
这个实时转录字幕有点牛逼啊！
You need to mute yourself.
就是实时转录字幕。
Who's talking? All right, thank you. Now, yeah, be careful with that. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, there's someone coming in by phone that I cannot mute. You need to mute yourself. Thank you. Yes, we can't have you. We can't have you. Okay. All right, so that's essentially where this material fits on the curriculum. So let me go on. So we're going to cover foundation of how to analyze and visualize data, essentially Excel and R. Excel, I'll run through this very quickly, but I'm going to focus more on R and the R tools. And I'll give you some clues as to where to pick up more R knowledge, because you're not going to get it all here, not in 6 hours, But this is a way for you to sensitize how much do I need to know and what do I need to know? That's essentially it. I will spend some time on visualization on Thursday, which may be new to some of you, on how to create really good presentations using data-driven presentations, which are very important. We'll talk about data sources, where data can get, and how to prepare the data so that it's ready to be analyzed. We'll talk about some statistical graphics that are very important. And I'll give you some examples and templates so that you can reuse them in your own work. So keep an eye out for techniques that will say, oh, if I have that kind of problem to present a solution of, that was a great technique to show. For example, many of you don't know about BoxPlus. I'll show you BoxPlus, very powerful tool, as you will see. Okay, so the way you should go looking at the material that I'm presenting is 2 ways. I present a topic, I'll present a concept. You say, yeah, I know about that. No problem, I'm all set. But if you're not that familiar, it doesn't look that familiar to you, is new to you, well, then you're going to have to do a little bit more work to get yourself up to speed before you start class. I want to prepare you so that when you go into those classes, the professor is not being held back, having to give half the class instruction on, how to program in R, for example. Many of the faculty have been held back that way, and then you don't get as much out of the class, and the whole class suffers from having some students that are not up to speed. So I will show you how to get up to speed quickly, even before you begin school in September, okay? Which you'll still got 2 weeks to go. So look out for any topic you go, I don't know much about that. Then you can do 1 or 2 things. I will be recording every one of these modules, and there will be a link to the module recording by module, even though I'm recording the whole 3 hours. I'll break it up, and by module, you will have, you can have the technique shown to you again and again and again. The other is I have some curated links to very short classes that you can take, very expensive classes, which are free to you because you're NYU students, right? Now you have this NYU email, you have NYU access, and you'll have these very expensive online classes that are very short, but they'll get you up to speed. I've used it successfully with many students. And then I give you the resources for you to get yourself up to speed when you feel a little bit uncomfortable with not knowing some of the material. And that's what you should look at. Do I know that stuff? Yes, okay, that's fine. I don't have to worry about it. No, I don't know that much. I better note that I should delve into it and explore it and get myself up to speed. Okay? So what am I going to cover? We just went through the introduction. Where does business analytics fit in your learning journey, especially the Massey program? Then I'm going to jump into data-driven decision-making, why it's important to business. And then I'm going to talk about the jobs that are available in this space. Right? What is it? What are the trends? What's going on in the industry that is making this such a powerful platform for you to get great jobs? Right? So I'll talk about that. And why is business so enamored of data-driven decision-making? Then we'll go through the process of you as the analyst, what do you have to do? And you have to apply these techniques to your courses. You have to translate a business need into a frame analytical question that can then be analyzed. And I'll show you that real quick.
I'm good.
If you're not muted, please, I'd like to warn you, please mute yourself. That would be great. Then I'll talk about data sources and formatting and the format of the data that you should be preparing so that you can easily analyze it using all of the tools that I'll show you. So that's called the flat file format and what it takes to get to that point. Then I'll jump into variables and what to do with each type of variable, the kinds of analytical tools that each variable yields to. And then I will get into, before we're done with tonight, into installing and using the R interfaces that will be so very useful on Thursday. R Commander, Jamovi, JAST. I'll focus both on Jamovi and JAST, which are much easier to use. So you don't have to do any R coding per se. And then of course, I'll talk about Excel. Excel has some very important analytical tools embedded in it that you're not aware of perhaps. We should make those accessible to you because right now they're hidden. And I'll show you how to make them accessible. And then lastly, we'll do a little bit of analysis. We'll talk about normal curve. We'll talk about median and averages and standard deviation. And we'll look at histograms. All analysis of continuous variable, looking at one type of variable, continuous variable, numeric variables, and then how to deal with those to yield information. All along, you see here the chapter titles that are available to you to back up each of these modules. There are two types of, the two books, two types of chapters. One coming out of my text analytics book called TA, chapter one, and then the data analysis book. I have two books. I've broken it up into chapters and I posted copies of the chapters for you that I'm making available to you for free, but please do not share those. They are copyrighted and then you can buy the whole book and get the rest of the book. But the few chapters that are applicable to these modules, I'll make available. And some of those, like a data analysis book, I've added all of the exercises that my colleague Andy Sheng wrote that is going to be coming out in the next edition. So I'm trying out all those modules as well, all those exercises as well. On Thursday, I'm going to get a little bit more intense. We're going to work on one of the most important tools that you should be very, very familiar with, pivot tables, to summarize categorical variables. I'll talk about bivariate analysis, categorical variable that splits a continuous variable. We'll talk about scatter plots. We'll talk about trend analysis. And then I will go into a categorical variable comparing two categorical variables, one's against the other, what we call contingency tables, cross tabulation, very important work of doing analysis of two categorical variables. And we'll finish with looking at box plots, a way of looking at continuous variables that are split by categorical variable. And then we'll finish with about an hour on data visualization, graphing. Yes, you're familiar with bar graphs, and yes, you're familiar with pie charts, but there's a lot more to it than just those two. And then how to integrate that in a presentation. You know, the thing that most of you in the survey say, I don't know anything about this. Well, because nobody's ever shown it to you. The McKinsey titling of charts, how powerful that will be as a way to really blow away your professor when you come and give a presentation. You want to be compelling in your presentations. And then I'll show you a few tricks, including how to get rid of chart junk, to keep the chart very, very clean, but then also how to title it properly, and then how to do things like data labeling so that you have a very, very professional looking chart. Okay, so all of that in 6 hours. You ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Right. Great. Great. Good. 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 All right. So this is module 1, and you know that there's a Brightspace, which is the platform that we use, the learning management system, the LMS, for all the courses. So it's good to get started with that because all your professors will use a website that is in Brightspace to deliver to you all their presentations, connect with Zoom meetings if they're online. The assignments will be delivered there. They will be accepted there. You know, they'll be available there. So you better get used to Brightspace. And I have a little Brightspace class for you. And I think I sent you the link to it in one of the emails an announcement that I sent out. Become familiar with that and download all those chapters and all of the material, including the data sets you're going to need for tonight. Okay. I have an analytics book. Again, I broke up a few of the chapters and added them to the website for you to download to follow along with some of the material that I'll be covering. But you can buy it. You can buy the book. It's not very expensive. And then the text analytics book also, which I'm using this coming semester to teach a concentration class in text analytics. Then there's a bunch of data sets that you should have available to you, although the data sets are also on the Brightspace website, and you can actually go there to learn how to scrape data from the internet. The Titanic data set, the Old Faithful data set, and then I have a document that you really need to acquire. It's called Brushing Up on Your Excel and R Skills. It's a PDF of links to all of the LinkedIn learning classes. They're about 2 hours each. I only have about 2 courses for R, 2 courses for Excel, and 2 courses for data visualization. So you're not looking at a lot of time there. They're very useful. My capstone students use those all the time to get their skills up to speed when they're working on an R project. So please make use of that document to hone in. And I will be pointing out those classes as we're coming up on the next module. there are about 2 to 4 million jobs in business as a business data analyst. These have been identified by McKinsey, for example, as one of the houses or consulting houses that analyze this field. And they call these folks translators because they translate business information need into what analysis needs to be done. And then they bring back an answer. So there's about 2 to 4 million jobs. So, and they're very high paying, very good jobs. Data scientists, there may be worldwide about 250,000. So, and they pay more, yes, no question about it, they pay more. But they take a lot more expertise, they take a lot more education and training. And again, there are not that many jobs. And once you get there, you'll always be known as a data scientist. Yes, you can always do a data analysis job, but you'll be looking for a data scientist job that they're scarce. So I would propose to you to continue to aspire to be a data analyst, a business data analyst, pick a nice industry that you're very happy with. I had one student graduate and he moved into the diamond industry. He became a gemologist. He got his gemologist certification and he did a lot of data analysis, all from taking one course with me on data analysis. And I brought up a data set of diamonds as a way of analyzing how, we built a business model to generate, which diamond is best for the money, right? The best value for money. He liked that so much, he went out, got a job in the gem industry, became a gemologist, certified, and he's doing great work as a business data analyst in the gem industry. So that's a great path. Find a good industry. You like customers. The marketing industry needs lots and lots of good data analysts to understand customers, for example. Logistics, very powerful. So you don't have to go all the way to be a data scientist to do that. So our degree clearly is focused on one part of our degree. You want to be a risk analyst, you can do that too. So you can focus on the finance industry and be a data analyst for the finance industry, analyzing risk. That's the 2 major programs we have. Or you can do systems development, or you can train yourself to eventually take on a leadership role. The leadership concentration is mostly for students who are mid-career, who are looking to advance to a managerial position. But most of you probably just out of school and you're looking for your very first job or your very next job. And this is a very good, productive, and well-paying area. And we're right there.